back Danielle Whitfield, who's a Trinity graduate. She is a classic example, really, of how I think personality is an attitude of some of the most important things about being a journalist, dare I say it, above skills and qualifications, really. She is bubbly, could say effervescent.
What does that mean?
Busy.
Oh, that's nice.
She is always cheerful, and perhaps most importantly, she is very, very prepared to do some hard graft. Which is why when North News got in touch with us here at Trinity about last Christmas, was it? Asking if we knew of any graduates that we could recommend for a job vacancy that they had going. I think me and the rest of the tutors knew immediately that she was the right person for the job, even though she was fairly far away from graduating. And we knew that because we've got such a strong team of tutors here at Trinity, that we would be able to support her through getting a full-time job whilst juggling her studies and enable her to achieve her degree as well whilst working full-time for a pretty hardcore news agency. And she did, and here she is. So please give her a good welcome.
Thank you so much, that was so nice. You'll not be saying that in an hour. So, obviously, I think that the most important things about being a journalist, obviously qualifications are very, very important, but to me, you're always going to be hungry, you're always going to have an empty petrol tank, and you're always going to need the toilet because you're never ever going to be able to find a toilet when you're on the job. But yeah, I mean, I was very, very excited when Lindsay sent us the email from my now editor. I didn't expect to get the job at all. I grew up in Newcastle upon Tyne, if you can't already tell. I'm a Geordie. I went to like a really, not rough school, I wouldn't say a rough school, but I went to like, you know, your average comprehensive school in Newcastle. I didn't really do very well at school. I was never really the cleverest or, I don't know, the brainiest or the funniest or anything like that. I was just kind of quietly getting along. My grades weren't great. I tried really hard, but I just was a bit too thick, I think. I came out with my A-levels with a B, an E, a D, and a U. It's not something I'm proud of. And I thought, I'm never going to get into uni. I didn't even look at my emails on results day. I thought, nah, I've ballsed it up here. And then even worse, I got an email from Sunderland saying they'd accept us, so I was ready to jump off a cliff by then. But then I rang Leeds Trinity Clearing and I was just like, please, can I have a place? And they were like, what the hell? You've already got a place? Why are you ringing up and begging? So I was so lucky and I was so excited to come to Leeds Trinity because I came to the open day. Originally, I wanted to go onto the journalism course. And I wasn't accepted onto the journalism course because you had to do interviews and stuff. And I didn't pass the interviews. So I came back and I did English and journalism at joint honours, which was, it was good. So it was really, really just by chance, I think, that I got into Trinity. I was so lucky. And I was so thankful because when I got in, I remember my first day at Leeds Trinity, we all had to sit on little desks. And I was sat down and there was like 5 people at my table, and I was like, this can't be it, like, seriously. There's got to be the room full of people. I thought, these are all going to be my class, it's fine. And then they said, yous are the English and journalism students, just the 5 of yous. And I was thinking, God. So, I mean, we were like such a little team where we were so close-knit, and we got through uni. And again, I wasn't the cleverest. I was probably the bottom of the pack in my class. I tried really hard. By 3rd year, I really kicked myself up the arse, and I thought, I need to do something and make myself stand out. And then in 3rd year, I don't know if any of us are 3rd years now, but we had to do a DMP module, so we had to make our own website. And for that, I thought, I need to think of something outside the box. I need to do something that no one else is doing. Everyone was doing sports or news in Leeds and all normal things. So I thought, I like animals. So I did a website about zoos in the UK, and I just really put my heart and soul into it. And I think the lecturers saw that. And I come out with, I think it was an exceptional first in that module. And so I eventually started to prove to myself that I could make it as a journalist. Because I put a lot of graft into it, and I was driving to zoos up and down the country doing stupid stuff. I mean, it was pointless stuff that I was putting out. I mean, it was no interest to anyone else, but you know. And then it was this time last year that I got the email from Lindsay, which I'm so thankful for. If it wasn't for Lindsay, I wouldn't have the job that I've got. So she sent us an email. She said, there's a job going in Newcastle. So that already switched my mind on. I can be near me ma, she can still do me washing. It's fine. So I applied for the job. It was an agency. I don't know if any of you know what agencies really do. But they work for all of the nationals and all of the women's magazines as well. It's very, very competitive. It's a very, very hard job to get into. And when I went for the interview, she told us, my editor, told us that there was loads of other graduates had applied. So I thought, right, what's the point of us even? I drove all the way from Leeds for this one interview and then drove straight back. And I thought, right, I've not got this job. And then she got back to us and she was just like, oh, I'd really like to have you for a trial day. So I did the trial day at North News. Again, I drove all the way from Headingley to Newcastle just for this one trial day. Drove back. I was still doing uni and all this time, third year stuff, so it was really, the heat was on. And then I went in for a final interview with the big bosses. And for some stupid reason, they really liked us. I don't know whether it's because they live like right next to Nigel or whatever, but that probably helped. But no, I mean, they were willing to take a chance on us because at Trinity, I never learned shorthand because with doing my English modules, they took up the part of what the shorthand modules would be. So if you get what I mean, it's like that took out that time. So I said to my lecturer, I said to my editor, I was like, if you give me this chance, I'll learn shorthand within 3 months, I'll pass my NCTJs within 6 months, and I'll be the hardest worker you'll ever get. And she took a chance on us, and it was the best thing ever. I couldn't believe it when they said I got the job. I was like, oh, it was just crazy. So as soon as they told us they got the job, that was on the Tuesday, I literally drove, because I was a fishmonger at Waitrose at the time, very glamorous. So I drove all the way from where I was living to the Waitrose where I was working. I handed my notice in, I said, right, that's it, I'm going. And then I came all the way to Trinity. I was really worried because I was really scared to tell Catherine that I was leaving and that I wouldn't be able to finish my studies properly. But actually, she was so nice about it and she was so supportive, as have all the staff been. So I said, I'm going to be leaving in 2 weeks. I've got this job, I need to go. And they were like, that's fine, but you'll still need to keep up with your studies. So I did that. Within 2 weeks, I'd packed up all my stuff and I was gone. So that was how I got the job. I mean, it was so lucky. So then 2 weeks later, I was a journalist, and it was crazy because I was doing journalism by day, studying by night, and then learning shorthand in the middle. As you can imagine, it was quite full on. I wasn't really sleeping. I was hallucinating quite a lot. But my first day really sums up the nature of a press agency. So I remember going in, I was so scared, I was so nervous, because at North News, we have some of the biggest stories that come out of our patch. We've got some photographers that have been doing it for 25 years, and they are the shit, they are mint, they are so good. And they literally have had like some of the biggest front pages in the country, and like there's not a day goes by when there's not a North News photo in the papers. So I was really intimidated by all these big names that I didn't really know were big names. So I sat at my little desk, and I went out on this story. And it was a story, it was about, I had to go and knock this door about this woman who'd caught her husband having sex with their dog when they were on holiday. So I knocked on this door on my very, very first day. I knocked on the door, she opened it. I was standing there shaking with my notepad like, oh! And she just looked at us, she took one look at us and she just went, fuck off. She shut the door. And I was just standing there like, right, what am I going to tell my editor? What am I going to do? I was so inexperienced. But it didn't really matter because my editor was like, it's fine, we need to go and do something else now. So that was in Sunderland, shock. So I had to go straight from Sunderland to South Tyneside Court. And at South Tyneside Court, there was a man, I forgot his name now, but he was harassing Jade Thirlwall from Little Mix. She's the little tiny skinny one from South Shields. So then I was in court writing about this, this famous singer and how she was getting stalked and stuff. And then I got a text off my editor, you need to leave that court case, you need to go and pick up Adam Johnson's birth certificate. So, so in my first day, I'd been told to fuck off. I'd been to see Little Mix, and then I was going to pick up Adam Johnson's birth certificate. So that just sums up what we do. I mean, at North News, as I say, we write for all of the national newspapers. So one day you could be doing something really stupid for the Sun, going undercover and doing something. But then the next day I'll be writing for the Times, and it's really professional. But I mean, we've had something in every single publication. So I mean, every day there's a North News story somewhere. We also write for the women's magazines as well, which is really nice. It's quite rewarding. It's quite fun because with the national newspapers, we don't actually get a byline because we're an agency. So you've probably seen some of my stories before, but they won't have my name on. At first, I felt really hard done by because I was thinking, I'm doing all this really hard work, and where's my name? It's like no one even cares it's me, like no one knows it's me. But then actually I learned that having a byline's not everything, because sometimes you don't want people to know who you are. But with the women's magazines, we do get a byline, and that's really nice because usually it's quite nice stories. I mean, we've written for Closer, Reveal, New, Now, Chat, Take a Break. I mean, it's usually really nice stuff. Sometimes it's a bit freak of the week, but it's all good fun. I mean, some of the biggest stories have come out of North News, and they're absolutely, I still feel like pinching myself among them because they're all just so good. They're so good. There's only 3 reporters, so there's only me, one other woman, and one of us left now, and we've got our editor, so there's 2 of us really, 2 reporters and the editor in the office to cover about 100 miles long to 100 miles wide. So we cover from the top of Northumberland to North Yorkshire to all of Cumbria. So it's a massive patch for just 2 people, but it's really good because you never just sat doing that, really. Trinity really did prepare me for North News. I mean, nothing could have prepared us for it, really, because it was just like a hurricane hitting us. But the things I learned at Trinity have really stood us in good stead, especially like DMP. And I know you probably all think law isn't important, but law is literally the most important thing that you will learn. Because when you're in court, and then you're starting to think about what you're writing, like if it's a pre-trial or whatever, all you can hear in the back of your mind is Nigel's voice telling you what you should and shouldn't report, and then that's the best thing because you know that you're not going to get sued or anything like that. I mean, I've made a mistake in a court copy once, and I thought my world was going to end. It was one tiny mistake. It wasn't even a legal mistake, but I thought, what would Nigel do if he saw this? And law is the most important thing, as well as shorthand. I mean, I know I didn't learn it, but it is vital. You really, really need it. Yeah, go on to the next one. Oh, how do you go back? Well, this isn't ideal. Yeah, so this is just a couple of the stories I've done. You might have seen some of them. I don't really know which ones are best to talk about. This one in the corner, that was the day, it was one of the best days I had at work. I had a story in 5 national newspapers on the same day, and every single news website had that story in. And it was about a lady called India Willoughby, who presented on ITV about 10 years ago as a man. So now she's obviously transgender. She's the nicest lady ever. But we broke that story because she was returning back to ITV. So we broke the story about her returning after having, you know, our operation and stuff. And that story literally went everywhere. And now she's on Loose Women, she's on Lorraine, she's on Good Morning Britain. And it's because we helped her get that foot in the door. I mean, obviously, she's all on merit and stuff. She's done really, really well. But if it wasn't for North News and our story, she might not have had all that. So, I mean, that fills us with a lot of pride, especially since it was 5 different papers. It was just mad seeing my story there because it was big in each of them. So that made us very excited. The story in the left-hand corner, that was one of my first stories that I got in. And I was very, very lucky to get that story. And it's about who you know as well as who you can get in touch with. The story that I did in the corner, funnily enough, it was one of my close friends that I made at Trinity. He went on holiday with his friends. And his friend got his head stuck in a photo stand. It was Jordan. And it was just really funny. The video was just hilarious, but no one had seen it. But since I was friends with Jordan, obviously I'd seen it before a majority of people. And it just went so far, I couldn't believe it. Like, he was in women's magazines, he was in the papers, he was viral, he was on Lad Bible and everything, because his head got stuck in like a little thing. And it just shows you that pointless things can make news. The one next to it, Katie Price. That was a bit of a low point, I'll admit. I got an ordered job. So, for example, obviously, the Sun will have staff men up, like one staff man in Newcastle, like Nigel used to be the North East staff man, and then one in North Yorkshire, and then the rest are kind of in London and Manchester. So if the staff man's busy or he doesn't want to do a job, he'll employ us to do that for him. So I got this ordered job to go to a talk with Katie Price. It was an evening with Katie Price. And I had to go undercover as like a Katie Price fan, which wasn't very easy. I was wearing the most by far. It was very awkward because I was on my own. They'd only paid for one ticket. And the evening was that you had to go have a 3-course meal, and then Katie would come out and do like a speech. So I was sat on my own, eating my dinner on my own. And then all these Katie Price fans kept on coming up to us and trying to like sit with us and make friends with us. And I couldn't tell them I was a journalist. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm a fishmonger. But then Katie Price, obviously, she just kind of spilled her heart out in this interview, bless her. And I took advantage of that. But I managed to get 3 stories out of the Katie Price night. So there was that one, have I murdered her? So Katie Price was talking about how she thought she'd murdered her best friend. She was talking about having a threesome. Oh no, a lesbian encounter in the Playboy mansion. And she was also talking about, and my mum wasn't very happy about this actually, my mum was foaming at us. She was talking about who had the biggest willy out of our ex-lovers. And showing that to my mum was like the worst thing I've ever done. She was mortified. She, what are you doing? This job. But yeah, I mean, we do like quite a lot of celeb stuff. And at first you're like, oh, going to see Katie Price. But then you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be up to like 4 writing out the copy and doing this, that, and the other. And it's actually all the celeb stuff we do is just the biggest faff on ever. But no, that was really good, and it got a lot of hits. And it went everywhere in the Sun, and then all the other websites started to follow it. The one above that one, the only reason I've put that up there is because a couple of months ago I did that story about a dog that mauled 11 children in a playground. It just went mad and started biting all these kids. It was in, yeah, what did I say, Blythe? Yeah, it was in Blythe. And the only reason I put that up there is because I was on Twitter the couple of days after and I saw that Nigel had retweeted it and I thought, I'm doing something right. Because he used it as an example of how it was law. He used it as an example of how you can still name children and children can still be pictured. So that made us really happy that Nigel had tweeted that. I felt like really cool. Another one, I mean, I don't know if anyone's heard of Dark Justice. Has anyone heard of them? Yes, we work really closely with Dark Justice. They are vigilante pedo hunters. And I mean, we cover a lot of stuff in court. But if you follow us on Twitter, you'd see that I've not actually tweeted anything from court. From North News, we're not allowed to do that. Just because, I don't know, it doesn't really reflect good if the defendant's family sometimes get in touch, and it can be quite awkward. The one at the top there, the dwarf couple, that was just a really silly story, but everyone seemed to love it for some reason. It was just about these two dwarfs, and they had a miracle baby, and they're married, and they met when they were in Snow White, and it was just really cute. But all of the newspapers seem to absolutely love that, so that shows that we do like really hard-hitting news stuff. I mean, we cover a lot. I mean, we covered like Brexit, we've covered the Northumbria Police Tribunal. I don't know whether you would know that actually up here. But we did do like a lot of serious stuff, but we do a lot of fun stuff as well, so it's really good. The one on the top right shows that you have to have like a bubbly fun side to you to be able to do like the women's magazines and stuff. But that one was like one of the saddest stories I've ever had to do. It really struck a chord with us for some reason. It was about a little boy who was playing by the fireplace, and the fireplace fell on him, and it crushed him to death. And it was really hard because when I first started, that was when it happened. And I had to go and knock the mum, and I was so worried because I didn't know what I was going to say to her. Like, what do you say to someone who's had to go through that? But she was just so open with us, and she just welcomed us in, asked us to sit down, had a cup of tea with us, and she just poured her heart out completely to us. And the inquest into his death was yesterday, so that's what I was doing yesterday. And that'll be in the papers today, but I haven't checked. But that just shows that those two next to each other just show how you have to adapt to anything. So it's not like you're constantly doing sports writing, or you're constantly feature writing, or you're always in court. It's like you're doing different things every day. So you have to adapt, not adapt your personality, not change your personality, but you have to be able to go from having your silly head on to having your really serious head on. I mean, a lot of the things you see, like no one prepares you for some of the things that you have to see and have to do, because you do get emotionally involved, and you probably shouldn't, but it just shows that you don't have to be a robot to be a journalist. Yeah, you can have personality too. I think journalists do get a lot of stick. They get a lot of hate for being all horrible and stuff, and people, they do get bad press, but it just shows you that we do good things as well. I mean, she was really wanting to raise awareness of that, so I mean, we helped her to do that. This is some of the magazine stuff I've done. I can't really see it because I haven't got my glasses on. Which one will I pick? The one in the... I don't know.
I might just say transgender.
Transgender, that's... The one at the bottom, this one here in the middle. Yes, what a turkey. It was it was like a really silly story. You might have heard of it because it kind of did go national at the time. It was about a girl who was supposed to be going on holiday with her family, but her family couldn't go because her little sister, who was only about 7 or something, had passport issues. So her mum and her dad were like, we're not going because the kid can't go. So Nicole decided, oh, I'm going to go on holiday by myself, I'll have a good time. And then she met a boy on Tinder. And the lad was like, oh, I'll take you on a date next week, we'll go out, we'll have lunch and stuff. And she was like, oh, I'm going on holiday, so I won't be able to go on a date with you because I'll not get back for like 2 weeks. So he said, oh, I'll come with you. And the first time they met was at the airport. They got on the plane together. Their first date was on a beach in Turkey. And then within about 3 hours, they realised that they absolutely hated each other. They realised that they were just not meant to be whatsoever. And then they got stuck in the middle of a military coup. So they were confined in this tiny little hotel on a date with each other, and never ending Tinder date. And they just hated each other. And then he managed to get a flight home, but he stole her toothpaste, knowing that she couldn't leave the hotel to get more toothpaste. And it was just really bitter, but it was a really funny story. And that went everywhere at the time, but that was it in the magazine, so I managed to do that one. We do a lot of, you can probably see, a lot of domestic abuse stories. Sometimes people think that we're harsh by doing domestic abuse stories, but actually, there is a statistic, but I can't remember it. But a lot of women who read the magazines, if they have suffered domestic abuse, will, report their attackers to the police because they've read something like this in the paper. So, I mean, it does kind of make us feel very rewarded by doing that. Because I know it's not directly helping people, but it is like we are putting a little bit of a stop to it, because obviously they're naming and shaming their attackers, and no one wants to be in a magazine being called a brute. So I mean, those three are the ones the best domestic abuse ones that I think I've done, well, the most shocking that I've done. The top right-hand corner, Scarlett Moffat. That was in Now magazine, Celebrity Now. It was one of the first jobs that I did for a good magazine, like a glossy mag. And I went on order for this lady called Ellie Hinman. She was the editor at the time. And she sent us to go and see Scarlett's boyfriend's family, just to confirm that they were in a relationship. And I mean, obviously, we didn't really get much, but that's all we got, and we confirmed it. But it did lead to a very good relationship that I've got now with the editor. She's moved to the Sun now. We still keep in touch. I mean, she's asked me to go and work with her. So, I mean, with an agency, you're never really far from making contacts and stuff. You meet a lot of people. I mean, I've only been there for 10 months or something, and I feel like my book's nearly full. Yeah, so, I mean, it's good because you never know what you're going to be doing. So you could go into the office and you could be sat with your cup of tea, your biscuits on your table. You could just be spending all day writing a feature. So you're just writing a whole story and you can just take your time over it. It's bliss. And then sometimes you get in and it's like, you need to go and knock 100 doors, whatever, and it's like, in the rain. And vox pops as well. I mean, vox pops are the devil's work. But they're so important. I never thought about it when I was at uni. They're so important because they just lead to many things. I mean, I've done vox pops before. I did one for the Sun a couple of ages ago. And then I had to go to the same place for the Times. And I knew who I'd already spoken to in that street. So I knew that who I could go to, who I could be, to get the job done quicker. So, I mean, you really have to have a knowledge of your area. The thing that I would also say that is really, really important, that Trinity can't teach you, that you do need for journalism, is a driving license. So I think if you're serious about doing journalism and you don't have a driving license, you need to book in lessons now, because it's not possible. It's not possible to be a journalist and not be able to get to different places. I mean, it's like 1 minute you'll be, I don't know, say if you're in Leeds, you'd have to be in Bradford within half an hour, and you're like, you couldn't get there on public transport in that time. Yes, is there any questions or anything? I'll open it up to questions now.
There are questions if you want. Danielle's driven down crack a door over 5, 6 o'clock this morning from Newcastle. Got any questions? Jack?
How do you adapt to writing styles for different papers?
It is very hard to do that. I mean, we write mostly for the Sun and the Mail. They have a pretty similar writing style, but what we would do, say if I was covering a story, I'd write out one copy, so one version, and then I'd send it out to all of them, and then they would adapt it to their style. But if we know we're writing specifically for one person, then when I was writing for the Times, I was so out of my depth, because how are you supposed to write in all their big words and stuff? But I mean, it's easy to do. I mean, for the women's magazines especially, you do have to adapt to their kind of writing style. I mean, Chat magazine love it, like they put sounds in and stuff, like they'll put the words of like whop and bang and stuff, so you've got to, like it's really, it doesn't feel natural. But then you just get used to it, to be honest. I mean, it's nothing that you can't do.
Do you have to do first person stuff occasionally?
Both. All of the features that we do are most of them are first person. I mean, the India Willoughby one up there, that was not first person. And I kind of struggled more with that because when we do stories for the women's magazines, we do sit down with them and we do talk for about an hour with them. So you do kind of get into their mind frame. At first I struggled, but it's not as hard now, I think.
Anything else?
You know you got told to fuck off like to start with. Have you had any more experiences like that?
Oh, loads.
What did you do?
Oh, well, you just, I don't know. Well, at first it really, like, you panic and you're shaky and stuff. I mean, I've been slagged off online, I've been trolled, people have put pictures of my car on Facebook and stuff like this. People have, told us to fuck off, people have threatened us. You just past caring. I've had people ringing up and saying, I'm going to turn up outside your office and beat you up and stuff. And I mean, what am I going to do? I'm only like 5 foot. If they're going to beat us up, they'll just beat us up. You can't stop it, but I mean, it never gets to that point. It never ever. No one can be arsed, really. If they're going to troll you online, that's fine, but no one could be bothered to come and find you. But I mean, when you do get told to fuck off and stuff, I mean, it does happen a lot. It happens more than you'd care to think. But then you can just talk your way out of it. So I mean, if you ask someone, if you knock on the door and say, oh, hi, I'm a journalist, can I speak to you? Fuck off, shut the door, bye. But if you say, how do you feel now that this has happened? Then they can't say yes or no. They can't tell you to fuck off because then they'd be ignoring the question. You just need to think of a way to, not a way to trap people into talking to you, but you need to just connect with them. Because you need to find the funny side of it as well. Because I did a story last week. The woman told us to fuck off. She put pictures of my car on Facebook. And then I went back to her house again and she was like, I've told you to leave us alone. I'm going to call the police and stuff. And now I'm doing a feature with her next week. Got a really good relationship with her. She was like, oh, I'm sorry that I've done that. I didn't mean it. And I'm like, oh, it's fine. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, people change like the wind. I mean, if it was me, I'd probably, if it was someone was knocking on my door and something horrible had just happened to me, I'd probably be the same. But you just need to think what would make you let someone in and spill your heart out to them. So yes.
Doing such a large variety, right? Is it kind of giving you an idea of what you want to do in the future?
No,
Do you want to...
it's made it worse. It's made it worse because one day I'll wake up and I'll think, no, I don't want to go out. I don't want to go on a job. I don't want to have to knock on doors or ID pictures or go and talk to people in the street. I just want to sit and write features and, because it's writing features is so much more comfortable. You know that you're just they're either going to say, yes, I'll do it, or no, I won't. And then you just have a little chat with them, then you write it up, and it's really easy. But with news stories, sometimes the adrenaline just gets to you. I mean, I've been on murders, and, I don't know if you know about the Primark kidnapping. A little girl was taken from Primark. I was on that from like 7 in the morning until like 9 at night. And I just was you get so adrenalinized. Don't know if that's the word. You just, one day you want to do one thing, one day you want to do the next. I mean, you can't predict it, to be honest.
Where would you like to be eventually?
Oh, I don't know. You can't ask us that. I don't know. I think my job is amazing. My job's the best job in the world because I get to do everything. But I think it's very, very long hours. And you don't really get weekends. You don't get much time. You've got to have your work phone on you all the time. You can get phone calls I've been called out at like 10:30 at night to go to a nightclub before because Gary from Geordie Shore was going out with Ellie Goulding or something. And I had to go in every club in Newcastle to try and find them, and it's happened that they weren't even out. So I spent all night doing that. I mean, in the future, like long future, I think magazine would be good. I don't think you'd have to move to London to do my cuisines. I don't know if I'd fit in. I think people wouldn't understand us very well. I mean, like when I came here, people didn't understand us yet, so I don't know what's a chance in London. I'd quite like to be a court reporter. I think the stress is a bit too much. And we've got a resident court reporter, and she's just amazing. So I wouldn't want to follow in her shoes because she's just mint. Go on, Henry.
All the long hours worth it.
Sometimes they're really worth it. Like sometimes you just love it. And like I've been out for hours and hours and hours and felt like it's been awful. And then I open the paper the next day and I'm like, yes, I'm a legend. But then sometimes like I've done vox pops where I've been out all day in the rain, and it's not got used the next day, and I'm like, oh, why did I bother doing that? But at the end of the day, I mean, if we do a job for the Sun or the Times or whoever, they pay us to do it. So I mean, even if we don't get anything from like a vox pop or something like that, we would still be getting paid for it. So it doesn't. Yeah, I think the long hours are worth it in the long run, because you do, with an agency, if you're lazy, you're out. People, they don't take lazy people. You can't afford to be a lazy journalist, otherwise it's just not going to work. I've worked 36-hour shift before, no sleep. I work 12-hour days most days. But you just get used to it. And then it makes you really appreciate the time that you do have off as well, which is good.
You mentioned before that you picked up shorthand for 3 months.
Oh, that was a nightmare. That was awful. Oh, yeah, so as I said, I didn't learn shorthand. I said to my editor, I promise I'll learn it in 3 months. And where do you even start? I mean, it's like learning Chinese. I really struggled. I really, really did struggle. And my shorthand doesn't look like anyone else's. I mean, I've taken the exams. I think I failed them. They haven't even bothered getting back to us, so I know I failed. But I think I am up to scratch now. It did take, I mean, I learned the gist of it in about 3 months. But it just takes so long to get your speed up. So I think being here, you need to really appreciate the facilities you've got, because learning it on your own is like the hardest thing. It's ridiculous. Like, it was so hard. I just had the book that I think you will probably have, the little green one, and I took the CD with us on every job I went. So if I was doing a stakeout or something, which is like when you wait outside someone's house, I'd have my shorthand CD and I'd be practicing that while keeping watch. And I'd just be like, I'd get my boyfriend to talk to us, and I'd write in shorthand, and I'd write my shopping list in shorthand. And I tried to make him learn how to do shorthand so he could like do it with us, but he didn't want to do it. It's just lazy. Yeah, so definitely make the most of shorthand here, because you'll not, once you're out, that's all you've got with your shorthand. It's a useful weapon.
Would you advise starting a job while you're still studying, based on your experience?
I don't know. I don't know. I would say I was very, very lucky that the staff sent me that email, because it was literally, I didn't even realise the news agency's 2 minutes from my mum's house, and now I've moved directly opposite the office. What an idiot. But it worked for me. It might not necessarily work for other people. It was very, very, very hard. It was the hardest 6 months of my life, because I started in March. Well, 6 months, yeah. Started in March, graduated in July. And it was just like every night I wouldn't be able to relax. I'd be doing 12-hour shifts, wouldn't be able to relax because I had to learn how to keep up with uni. And I mean, the English, the journalism tutors were really helpful, but the English modules were just kind of like, just do it. So I wasn't getting any extra tuition and stuff, but the tutors in the journalism department were so helpful. Like, they were emailing us, like Nigel emailed us like 6 test papers. Lindsay was like ringing us quite a lot. I mean, we still keep in touch. I still keep in touch with both Lindsay and Nigel, and that's really helped us, because I'm kind of getting off your question now, I think. But yeah, it worked for me. It might not work for you, but I was really lucky to have that that support network for both of them. I mean, I went on a job when I first started, and I was really lucky because I had Nigel's phone number then, and Lindsay's. I think I rang both of yours. It was a job, well, I'm not going to really go into it, but I knocked on someone's door, and they said, if you're going to report this, then I'm going to kill myself. And it was just awful, wasn't it? I was so riled by it, and I knew that he wasn't going to, I knew that he was just saying it to get us off his back, but it really, really hit us. And I was just panicking, I was shitting myself. So first person I rang both of them, and they just talked us down. And they made us feel like I wasn't like a heathen. What was your question? I got right off it now. Studying, yeah, it worked for me, it might not work for everyone. It was very hard. You need to be prepared to put some really hard graft in. Really, really, really hard. I was very lucky. If you get an opportunity, you can't afford to miss opportunities. I think I missed a lot of opportunities in first and second year that I didn't even realise Trinity were given. But my boyfriend, he went to this uni and he took every opportunity that the uni gave him. And I mean, his artwork's still up in the SU, isn't it? Unless they took it down, burnt it when he's left. Yeah, he took every opportunity, and I always looked at him and I was like, oh, the uni favour you. And then I realised he was just taking every opportunity and I was missing every opportunity. So that showed me that I needed to take all of the opportunities that the lecturers gave us. So, yes.
So you've been there 10 months, you said?
Since March, I started in March.
And what would you say, I know you've done lots of stories, what would you say you might be proud of the story you're most proud of?
I don't know, actually. I was waiting for someone to ask us that. I've done a lot of stuff that I'm quite proud of. I've done some stuff that I'm not so proud of. I was really proud of the head getting stuck in the board. I know it's dead pointless and dead stupid, but it was just really funny. It was really, really funny, and I was proud because I got that off my own initiative. It wasn't even on my patch, and I managed to turn it around, and it was just a stupid little video, and I managed to turn it into this massive news story, and everyone was using it, and Jordan and the lad who got his head stuck, Danny, they were getting like friend requests off loads of people, and just went massive. But I've worked, like, the biggest story that I've worked on, I don't know. I mean, we've done a lot of stuff. I don't know if you know about Alan Barnes and Katie Cutler down here. Done a lot of stuff with them. And just, I think everything that you do in Newcastle, all the big stories come out of Newcastle, I've probably been there. So yeah, I don't know what I'm most proud of. I don't know. Probably what my mum says. Whatever makes her proud will make me happy. Yes. Any other ones? No?
Can I ask about NCTJ? What's your thoughts on that? And I'm not here to sell NCTJ, I'm just your opinion and employers.
Well, I didn't learn NCTJs. The conditions of my, because I was given a 6-month probation, the conditions of my job were basically that I passed NCTJ law and shorthand, and I was really happy with myself because I got an email from Nigel after I took my law exam. I travelled all the way from Newcastle to do it. I sat it and then I went straight back to work and then worked. That was the night I had to go out on the job for Gary in Ellie Goulden, so that was a disaster. But I got an email from Nigel saying, you're the only person to have ever passed an NCTJ exam by failing it. So basically, I did the law NCTJ, and you've got to get 50% to pass. I got 49.5%, and they have to round it up. So I passed, and I was so happy with myself. I think you do need a knowledge of law. Don't necessarily think that you need an NCTJ in law, as long as you know it. And I mean, what I learned was adequate enough, I think. I mean, I only just passed the NCTJ exam, but I passed it, so it doesn't matter. The other NCTJs, I only had to do shorthand and law. I don't even know what the other ones are. I didn't need them for my job. But a lot of jobs do require them. I didn't need it, so I didn't even learn most of the stuff, so I don't know how I feel about the NCTJ. Do people like them? Do people do them here? Yeah. Well, I didn't, and I'm doing all right. I think qualifications are good. Qualifications, like my degree, really helped us, but it's not the be all and end all. Like I was a proper idiot at school. I was thick as out. I really wanted a first. I got a 2-1 in my degree. I really wanted a first, but obviously working full time kind of knocked that right down. But qualifications aren't everything. You can't get a qualification in personality. You can't get a qualification in being able to knock on a door and be confident. It's mostly about blagging, journalism. It's all about blagging.
Often students, people new to it, find quite interested about networking. What advice would you give on networking with peers and lecturers and people?
I don't know. I mean, I still keep in touch with these guys, but I think that was just because I got on with them so well at uni. I don't think I've kept in touch with them like with the mindset of being like, might need them one day for a story or something. Do you mean like social networking or like normal networking, like people networking?
I think both are the same really, because a friendship is also a professional friendship as well.
Yeah, well I mean it's very important. You need a phone book. If people say that, you can just store phone, like, you know, on your phone. You need to be able to keep a phone book and a record of people that you're speaking to. It's good to get a really good relationship. Like, we have a really good relationship with the police, all the councils and stuff, all the press officers around. So it's good to make yourself known to them. But we also have a really good personal and professional relationship with all of the desk people, like the Sun, the Mirror, the Mail and all them. And we have a good relationship with all of the magazines as well. I mean, it's crazy because you're going head to head with people every single day. Like, we are always going head with, you've probably heard of PA, Press Association, and we're going head to head with all of the people that sometimes put us on order to do jobs with them. So but it's really fun, it's really friendly. It's not like you're doorstopping someone and ruining their chances. It's like, it's friendly competition, it's good.
I'm right in saying, when I worked up there 20 odd years back, North News were pretty much on their own. You've got more and more agencies encroaching on each other's territory now, haven't you?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, down here, there's the agency called Southwest. So Southwest News are based in Leeds, I think, or York, and they just cover the rest of the country. Sometimes they come onto our patch. We don't like that very much. But Kev Donald, he's got his own agency now.
Yeah.
So we often go head to head with him, which isn't ideal because he's obviously been in the business for like 25 years, and it's really hard because I've been here for like 10 months. But yeah, it's hard when people do try and get on your patch, but then you usually can swing it the best, because if I was going to knock someone's door in, Baker Wall, like the roughest area you can find, and then someone from London or something was going to knock them as well, I would have probably a better chance because I've got like the accent and I know the area and stuff. I mean, it very much plays to your advantage. It's a very, very good card to have. Anyone else?
Talking about that same point, with that, you don't necessarily need to go into individual cases, but have you ever had a story that's been too close to home physically? Because you're in Newcastle, you're from Newcastle, or either friends or people in your area that you've been worried about?
Yeah, I mean, you do get very involved with people. I don't know whether it's just the kind of person that I am, but sometimes, like if I'm doing a story, I genuinely, because when we send magazine stories out to all of the magazines, we get them to bid for the fee for the punter, and you genuinely want to do the best for them. I haven't done any stories with any of I have actually. I did one story with my best friend after she got done by that camera on John Dobson Street. At the speed, it was like a really dodgy bus camera. She got done by that, but that wasn't really anything. I mean, we do the stories that we do with like Alan Barnes. I think that's a bit. He's such a lovely guy, but it just is quite hard because.
They may not know Alan Barnes, because Alan Barnes was a pensioner, a disabled pensioner who was smoked in Gateshead a year or two back, and then they had a massive appeal for him and raised £1 million or something.
No, it was 500,000.
Yeah, it was some huge amount, and then the story went sour because the person who raised the money for him ended up being sued by a PR agency, didn't they?
Yes, So I mean, it's quite hard when you've worked with people in the past and then to go back to them and keep hounding them. It's quite hard because he was very vulnerable and he's like the nicest bloke ever, and he let anyone in to talk to them, but then you don't want to take it too far. Sometimes you've got to be very conscious that you're not going too far and you're not taking advantage of people, and obviously we never do that because we're so close to home, we're so close on the doorstep.
Any other questions?
I kind of had a question, but I know it's probably a bit of a stupid one. But you said about sort of needing to, I know it's not necessarily journalistic, but you said about sort of needing to get about the stories early on, and considering I'm someone who until this year couldn't because I haven't legally learn to drive, is it sort of an absolute necessity to learn to drive?
Well, I mean, on my patch it is. For me it is, but not for everyone. Because I've got a really good friend actually who he works for the Mail Online, and he came to us for some work experience, and he just came in the car with me. But when he goes back to London to the Mail Online, he won't. If you're working in like a big area like London, or even like the centre of Leeds or Manchester, you don't necessarily need to drive because everything's there for you. I mean, I need to drive because my patch is like 200 miles round. But if you're working on like a local, what exactly do you want to go into? Is it like a local paper or?
I'm still just got sort of keeping my options open.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of freelancers do actually just work from home. You can, it's really easy. You can just pick up stories. Like some of the best stories I've done have just been off Facebook, off people putting things on Facebook. So you just find them, message them on Facebook, to have a phone call with them, and then you've got the story. So you don't necessarily need to drive. Obviously, it's different for like photographers and stuff. But if you're on a very local paper, like the Yorkshire Evening Post and stuff, I don't know whether they have to drive for that. It depends where your patch is. I mean, my patch is very, very big, so I need to. Yes.
I was going to ask about social media, because it's, agencies have kind of been around a long time. How do you think social media has kind of changed your work?
I would not be able to live without Facebook. All of the people in my office take the mick out of it because North News' best Facebook stalker. They all say that they feel really sorry for like my friends and my boyfriend because I can find anything within seconds on Facebook. It's like my little skill. It's very important. When you were up north, you wouldn't be able to just do that. You wouldn't be able to just go on Facebook. Oh, this is where they live. On their Facebook profile, it says they live in this area. So let's go on 192 and look in this area. So it narrows things down massively. And I mean, it's very helpful as well because if, say for example, I was covering a court case and there was a photographer wanting to get a snatch of the person leaving court, I would be able to find the person on Facebook and they could compare the Facebook picture of the person that they're snatching. So they would be able to find, it's just makes life so much easier. And I mean, my Twitter following's pretty pathetic, so if everyone could follow us on Twitter, that would be great. But Twitter as well is pretty useful, but Twitter I find is more useful for finding news, whereas Facebook's more useful for finding stories, so finding people and things like that. So it's very, very useful. We had a work experience guy who came in a couple of weeks ago, and he didn't have Facebook or Twitter. He was like, I've never used it before. What are you doing in this industry? You need it, you need social media. But the only one I don't really use is LinkedIn. I don't know if that really has that much of a purpose with our job. But maybe that's just me, because I can't use it, it's really hard. Yes, any other questions? Nope.
That was possibly the most entertaining talk we've had so far. I don't know if you agree. So let's stay really quick.